There are a lot of really great games out there. Okay, bye! Everyone has their little classics or more obscure games they like to play once in a while. And when you hear the word classics, you always think of the same titles. Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Kirby Superstar, Chrono Trigger, Your Mom Wearing a Speedo, and now even all the obscure games that people discovered a couple of years ago are not that obscure anymore. And sometimes you hear people talking so much about a title that it becomes overpriced and overhyped really quickly. Today I'd like to talk about my little obscure classics. And keep that in mind, it's my top 5, so it's not the top 5 most obscure games of all time. Those are just the games that people aren't mentioning enough. So I have my little pile here. Let's start right now. iNinja. iNinja is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated 3D platformers of all time. It was developed by Argonaut Software, the same guys behind the Super FX chip, Star Fox, and the Croc series. It's basically an hack and slash mixed with a 3D platformer. And if that description is a little bit too vague for you, let's just say it's Ninja Gaiden mixed with Ratchet and Clank. You control a little ninja named, well, Ninja, and you're guided throughout the game by the ghost of your sensei named Sensei. I know it may look stupid that the ninja's name is Ninja and that the sensei's name is Sensei, but it's something I really like about the game. It's not trying to be the next Citizen Kane, and it's not trying to compete with the plot of The Sixth Sense or whatever. It's just trying to be a game, period. It's not that the story is not great, it's just that it's not the focus here. The gameplay is. Some 3D platformers like Jak and Daxter and Sly Cooper have interesting characters and some pretty cool storylines, and I like that. There are some games that are just meant to be that way. But the way you approach iNinja is the same way you would approach a game like Super Monkey Ball or Super Meat Boy. I don't know how to describe it perfectly, but sometimes you're like, oh, I want to play Ratchet and Clank, or oh, I want to play Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker, and when you start the game, you completely forgot about the 46 hours long intro that sets the story for the whole game. In iNinja, it's not the case. You start the game and bam, you're already having a blast. There's a little cinematic intro at the beginning, but that's it. You can pretty much dive in that game the same way you can dive in Contra. And that's something you don't see very often these days. Games are all about the experience and the immersion. That one felt like an old classic. It felt like a game designed as an 80s game, and I like that a lot. Cobra Triangle. RC Pro-Am is one of the greatest racing games on the NES. And for a good reason. It was made by Rare. It was fast, fluid, and the graphics were decent for the time. Rare was pretty much the perfect company back then. They've created so many great games, but please, please let's not talk about the present time, my friends. After RC Pro-Am came Cobra Triangle, and it's even more awesome. You control a ship during various events ranging from races to capture the bombs to boss fights, etc. And that's why it's so cool. It's not only based on racing events, you have all sorts of stuff to do in this game. The music was composed by David Wise, the guy who would grow up to be Donkey Kong Country's lead composer. And even though it's not the best soundtrack ever, it's still cool to know the origins of the guy who would make the greatest SNES soundtrack of all time, in my opinion. It's a little gem, and it's not even hard to find. You can pretty much find a copy for $5 everywhere. Clash at Demonhead. I'm sure when you heard the name Clash at Demonhead, you were like, oh my god, it's the name of the band in Scott Pilgrim. I understand the reference now, it's awesome. Yeah, the popular band in Scott Pilgrim got named after this game, which was a pretty awesome game for its time. It's filled with humor and the dialogues are incredibly funny. The first time I played this, I came up to this huge skeleton boss and I wasn't even able to beat him. But then during the fight, bam, cutscene, dialogues, I was amazed by that. And then he tells you, meet me on Road 33. And you're like, okay, fine, but where the fuck is Road 30? Oh, it's an open world. That's what I like about this game. It's one of those NES titles that were so huge for the time. You have to do a lot of things in order to see everything it has to offer. And it's such a badass game. Your character name is Bang, and he's the main hero in Clash at Demonhead. Come on, guys. That sentence alone sounded like the 80s. I love this game, I really do. Go play it, now. Super Bonk. If you've been lucky enough to own a TurboGrafx 16 when you were young, well, fuck you. No, but if you ever owned a TurboGrafx 16, you've probably heard of Bonk. Bonk was the mascot for the TurboGrafx 16, and I'll be honest with you, I've always liked the guy. His games were good. I mostly played them on Wii's Virtual Console, but when I played them, I remember a vague souvenir from my childhood. I knew I've played a Bonk game before, but it wasn't possible because I didn't own a TurboGrafx 16. I went to the flea market a couple of days after I played the Turbo version, and bam! That's when I found Super Bonk on Super Nintendo. Which was $60 because flea market resellers are fucking dumb, but I got the game recently thanks to one of my friends who owns a local video game store. The game is awesome, but it's so freaking weird, in a good way. You don't really know what's going on the first time, but let me tell you, you're in for one hell of a ride. The candy mechanics are awesome. You can grow size and shrink down if you take the blue or red candies, kinda like the mushrooms in Mario. You can even transform into some creatures when you eat meat, like this thing, fuck it, I don't know. It's a platformer, and it's a good one. I don't want to spoil you anything about it. I want you to go and play it to see it for yourself. It's so weird, but it'll make you feel good after you've done so. Yoon Racers. This game, ladies and gentlemen, this frickin' game. I have a couple of fun facts about it. The studio who developed Yoon Racer is DMA Design, which would later become Rockstar North and make Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. That's cool, right? Also, the game got a very limited release because of DMA getting sued by Pixar for copying their unicycle design from the '87 short called Red's Dream. DMA lost the lawsuit and Nintendo had to terminate the production of Yoon Racer's cartridges. By doing so, the game ended up selling only 300,000 copies, which was the first batch of cartridges to be produced. No other Yoon Racer's cartridges were produced after that. And that's one thing that makes me like this game so much. It's more or less part of the gaming history. And it's so sad that it sold so poorly because the game is truly one of the best on the system. The music is awesome, the graphics are cool looking, it was super fluid, it was basically Nintendo's response to Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog. In fact, you can name your unicycle in the game, and if you try to name it Sonic, the game will forbid you to do so and say that your name is not cool enough. Go try it out, it's an amazing game. And that, my friends, concludes my personal top 5 of games that people aren't mentioning enough. Hope you liked it. Go and try some of those games, they are all amazing. If you would like to see more content, be sure to check out theguywiththehair.ca. You can even check out our YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, and also our Patreon page if you want to support the show and get exclusive content. Also, if you guys would enjoy to see another video, just click right there. I did a little something about James Bond. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that name without gagging anymore.